What is going on, everyone? Lauren Sisler here with AL.com, joined by Miss Gianna Hahn, Auburn beat reporter, hanging out with us from Auburn, of course. So she's been on the ground, boots on the ground, pretty much this entire offseason and been covering a multitude of stories. Obviously, been covering the first 2 weeks of Auburn football camp for us. And we're going to get into some of the X's and O's and some of the players that are kind of standing out to Gianna at this point and what we can kind of expect as we enter into transition from week 2 to week 3 of this fall football camp in this sort of uncertain time that we're living in. And of course, that uncertain time is COVID-19, Gianna. And, you've kind of, like I said, been boots on the ground. You've been on the Auburn campus. You've kind of seen things unfold. You've seen the bars that have been packed to the gills. You've seen a lot of things that have transpired and just the amount of people on campus, that have moved in since, classes have started. And it's worth noting, obviously, a day after Auburn reported 207 new positive cases on campus the week of August 15th through 21st, the university's vice president came out with an email to the students, and now they're trying to work on slowing the spread of COVID-19. So just give us your thoughts on that, what you've learned over the past couple of weeks, and where things are moving forward.
Yeah, so now that the players and the students are all back, the players came back first, and they were reporting actually no new positive tests. We haven't gotten the new numbers from them to see if they can keep it up, but when the students came back, they weren't really wearing masks, as you could see in some of the videos from the bars and some of the photos. They weren't wearing masks necessarily on campus, and Auburn had to put in a mask mandate for both on campus or inside and outside when they were on campus. And even so, as soon as they stepped off campus, from what I'm hearing, a lot of people are still taking them off. And so since then, we've seen 2 bars shut down temporarily, and we've seen 2 restaurants decide to shut down temporarily. And on top of that, a lot of the players have started speaking out on social media asking, please, if you want football, please actually be careful about this. We're doing our best. Please do your part. Gus Malzahn didn't really add anything in at first, but after press, he did make a comment students, we're all in this together, and we need you guys as well. So it's been definitely, it seems like Auburn is trying to scramble to figure out what's going on. So they have a meeting today, actually, for the city at 2 p.m. That we will be heading on over to, and they're just trying to talk about what can they do to stop this spread, because that number 207, that's from last Monday, as in the Monday before a lot of the students hit the bars. So we still have to wait and see what the real effect of the first week is back, since we know that symptoms don't necessarily show up or tests don't show up until a few days after you contract it. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation here. I don't know what all the right answers are, and I don't think anyone really does. So that's kind of where they're at.
And it's worth noting there, the one thing that kind of came out of all this, obviously gatherings being limited to 50, that was something that they tried to implement August 24th through October 10th. And it's worth noting that does not pertain to athletic events per se. But, I think it is interesting that the players are kind of jumping on board, because to your point, they're doing their part. They say, that they're working hard to kind of contain this thing, and they want to go play football. So, obviously that kind of plea. And so obviously we'll know more from your meeting at 2:00, sort of what is discussed there, and sort of, what they come up with in the response to trying to slow the spread of this, because, inevitably, I think that there was an expectation that we would see numbers spike, but, at an alarming rate, obviously, is something that they want to try to, tame and hopefully reverse that trend so that we can get things back on track and they're not forced to go into perhaps a virtual learning environment at that case. So let's talk Auburn football, kind of what's been going on the field. It's been a little different this year, and so it's worth noting. Normally, we do have a little bit more access to practice, mostly the stretching and stuff. So we don't always get to see a whole lot of practice, but just based on, talking with the coaches and being in sort of the meeting, the meetings and whatnot, the post-practice press conferences and whatnot, what are you learning? We'll start from the defensive side of the football, because I've seen some, great work that you've put out there on AL.com, sort of highlighting some of the guys on defense that we can be excited about. And really, we'll start with Kevin Steele's defense. He has been, he has produced a defense that has been a force to reckon with these last few years, more specifically. And really, it's kind of amazing how Auburn has pumped out these incredible pass rushers. So that's kind of the question here. The competition is kind of been wide open. Who's going to be the best pass rusher? So based on sort of the information you've gathered and what you're learning from each of these players, who would you say leads that pass rushing competition right now at this point?
So I would guess personally that would be Big Cat, just because after Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown left, he was the one with the most quarterback hurries. So he was the one closest to making those sacks, and then he had some of the most sacks. But when we asked him, he kind of took himself out of that conversation, and it was between TD Moultrie and Derek Hall. And he said those two are both in kind of a neck-and-neck battle. And it was really tough choice for him, but he ended up saying TD Moultrie. Granted, you have to keep in mind that he said that those two, they do everything together, like he and TD Moultrie. They've got really good friendship. So he might be a little bit biased, but he said it came down to experience. Basically, Derek Hall was a freshman last year. He's still in the process of learning the position and the defense, whereas TD Moultrie has been here for 4 years. He's a senior. He's had a lot of experience over the past 4 years. He also played as a true freshman. And the quote from Big Cat is that he's been perfecting his craft, and it's starting to show. But he expects great things out of both of those guys. And then in terms of Big Cat himself, I actually got to talk to his little brother as well as his two high school coaches that are his mentors. And they were so impressed with what he did over the offseason. He's been working so hard, they said. He told us himself that he went and worked out with some NFL guys, took notes from them, took notes from Marlon Davidson, who we all know went from a pretty good junior year to like an amazing senior year. So they expect great things out of him. The quote from his coach is he can set the SEC on fire. So I think that while there may not be another Derek Brown, there's a lot of really good guys still left on that defensive line.
Yeah, I loved your headline. You said Big Cat Bryant has outgrown the kitty cat nickname. So he is truly embracing and owning his name, I guess, his given name on the roster as well, Big Cat Bryant. So certainly be interesting to see how that goes. And like you said, not a shortage of guys kind of coming in the rotation, but this Auburn defense has certainly, been one to watch and been exciting to watch and grow. And so we'll flip to the offensive side of the football. Well, first of all, I do want to ask you real quick about Tank Bigsby. He seems to be someone that a lot of people like to talk about. First of all, the name is really cool. And secondly, just, your thoughts on him, just, a couple nuggets that you might be able to share with us about his, abilities and how he might be able to make an impact early on for this Auburn football team.
Yeah, so Auburn has no shortage of cool names. I have to say that was one of the first things that I noticed when I came down here. But we've only heard good things about Tank. We've definitely heard that he'll be able to make an impact early. Keep in mind that they've said that about every freshman, mainly because they expect the season to require much more depth than a normal season in case people go down. But besides that, they say he's really hard worker. Sean Shivers talked to us and said that he has come in with just open mind, looking to learn. He's always asking questions. He described him as honest. He always says that, he's very honest with where he's at. And he says he plays hard, he runs hard. So you can expect to see great things out of him.
All right, and we'll close this thing out more specifically talking about the offensive line and maybe some of the changes and some things we'll see up front, because obviously we know that those are oftentimes the unsung heroes, the grease in the wheels, the ones that kind of keep things churning and help the offense to thrive. And so what are you learning about the offensive line and sort of how they're making progress here in week 2 of fall camp?
Yeah, so that offensive line is pretty much a blank slate besides Nick Brahms in the center, because even from all their starters to the coach, they have new people coming in. So from what Gus has said, he is letting the new coach, Jack Bicknell, just figure it out on his own. He's not giving him any preconceived notions. So they're reluctant to say that anyone is ahead of another person. But we have heard that Brodarius Ham is just looking so good. We've always kind of heard his name in the past, even though he wasn't a starter. We've heard all about his potential. But when we asked the cat yesterday about who's someone who stuck out to him, he immediately just goes, Broderius Ham. So it sounds like that one's a pretty clear one. Of course, Nick Brahms, like I said, in the center, but you got Austin Troxell coming back from injury, and I think he's really close. You've got some junior college guys coming in that they've spoken really well about, as well as freshmen who are super eager to learn. But it's just a really intense competition right now, and Jack McNell is expecting the absolute most of them. From what Broderius Ham said, he was like, he will not let you go. Like, if you mess up, he won't just let it go. He will point it out. If you aren't doing it the way he wants it, he will make sure you change. But he said because of that, they're taking an already talented line, and it's just elevating way past what it could have been doing before. So they all are speaking very, very positively about the chances of the offensive line, despite losing almost every single player and coach that had a lot of experience. So.
Got to call it like you see it. That's right. Call them out when they need to. But sounds like things are coming together. Obviously, we're in week 2 of fall camp. I just looked at the calendar. It's the 27th. So we're literally one day short of a month away from the kickoff to the SEC football season. Of course, Auburn opening the season against Kentucky on the 26th at home in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Will be interesting to see, how that shapes up. Super excited about it. But yeah, for the time being, we'll just keep our eyes and ears open. And again, thank you for all your updates, and we'll definitely look for your updates. You can follow Gianna on Twitter and catch all her updates on AL.com as well as Facebook and whatnot. So we appreciate it. Thanks for the insight, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good.